Who here, by show of hands, became what they wanted to be when they grew up? Any ballerinas? That's what I wanted to be. How about the opposite? Did anybody grow up to be something or somebody they swore they'd never be? Your mother, perhaps? My mother was a teacher, a super teacher, a beloved advisor, coach, an English teacher who taught in a way that even kids who hated English loved her class. Her students loved her and were inspired to be like her. In fact, a large portion of educators in this local school district are her former students. And I wanted none of it. In fact, I swore I would never, ever, ever be a teacher. And yes, I'm here today to talk about how I became a teacher. And although my path is not direct, each seemingly unrelated step towards my unanticipated destination perfectly prepared me for my present purpose. And through it, I discovered my most authentic self. My first job as a never-would-be teacher was a water safety instructor teaching 2 to 4-year-olds how to swim. We blew out our birthday candles in the water and practiced our big arms. Mostly what I taught wasn't skills as much as it was facing fear. Fear of water in the ears and eyes, fear of jumping into the shark-infested deep end of the pool. And although sometimes getting their eyes wet required a quick push of the back of the head or a fellow guard to help a scared swimmer off the diving board, I would be there with a big smile and huge praise and a "Yay, you did it" when they emerged, to rewire their brain that what they did was an accomplishment. They were capable, and I didn't let them drown or get eaten by jaws. I could have never imagined as a late teen how these experiences would prepare me for prison. Back then, I still was never going to be a teacher. But I lived the motto, whatever you do, do with gusto, which is having vigor and enjoyment in doing something, or zest. In college, I studied journalism and I finished a year early. Well, really, I wanted to quit school and go be a massage therapist. But my mother said, finish. You can do whatever you want to after, but finish the degree. You'll always have it to fall back on. And so I established another pillar in my personality. Whatever you commit to doing, finish. Even when you really don't want to, suck it up, finish. So I hurried up and did my last 2 years in one so I could jump to my next adventure. And in massage school, I needed a flexible job. And what's a flexible job that would be just perfect for me? Substitute teaching. My mother assured me you can do anything for 8 hours. Plus, I had a degree, so I'd make more than minimum wage. Fine. But I was still never going to be a teacher. Until one day, everything changed. I'm not much of a planner. I like to live in the moment with gusto. So when I got out of night school, most of the jobs left over were the harder assignments, special education, or classes experience subs knew to avoid like the plague. But I could do anything for 8 hours. And one such class was a self-contained class where the students had such significant disabilities that they were contained to that one classroom. And although they were earning their high school certificate the next month, they were learning the presidents and who was on which coin and the value of money. So I went into my lesson with gusto, teaching Lincoln on the penny and Washington on the quarter, and those kids ate it up. I had so much fun. At the time, my sister worked at the White House, so I asked her to send them the kids' packets from the White House that had pencils and stickers and pictures of Barney, the sitting president, George W. Bush's dog. What seemed insignificant to me turned out to change my course forever. A few weeks later, I got a thank you note from the teacher explaining how much the packets meant to the kids and how she was ever so grateful. But what meant the most to me were the students' signatures. Some were just scribbles of their names in cursive. And some were so carefully penned, they indented the cardstock. Something came alive in me. That feeling of impact. I wanted more of that. And so after finishing my massage therapy license, a never-would-be teacher enrolled in a grant-funded Master of Arts in Teaching Exceptional Student Education at my alma mater. And I got to go back to the Florida campus where I had my best memories and grounding experiences. One such pivotal point was when I walked into my first surf club meeting as a freshman in hot pink patent leather stilettos, jean skirt, and my sorority shirt. I was not well received by the hardcore surfers and tagged a faker and given a very hard time by some very rowdy boys. But I had a 5-seater hatchback with good gas mileage and roof racks. And through it, I learned the importance of authenticity, not only to myself, but in how others received me. And it wasn't long until those rowdy boys loved me like a sister, hot pink and all, and I kept them organized enough to get regular funding for trips to the East Coast, eventually serving as president of the club, because I enjoyed the paperwork and running meetings. Fast forward several years later, I was interviewing for a teaching position at a technical high school during a hiring freeze in Florida. During that time, there were protests and walkouts. I only got the interview because of my journalism degree. Remember, the one I wanted to quit? Because the Academy of Journalism was considered a technical field and the only positions that could consider an external candidate. Well, I loved my time in surf club so much, I proudly included in my resume, Surf Club President. The administrator interviewing me just happened to be the founding member with his roommate of the surf club over a decade before. And after a conversation of how it was back then and what it became, I just happened to become the best person for the position. And so I got my first teaching job with no real teaching experience aside from some substitute teaching, while several others of my cohort had to take unpaid internships to complete the student teaching requirement. I'll never forget my first day, the morning bell ringing, and I turned the corner from welcoming my students to see 30 sets of eyes staring at me. And I stared back till I realized, oh, they're waiting for me. So there I was, a teacher, after all. And I learned a lot of wisdom. You're teaching kids, not curriculum. The most powerful person in the room resets everyone's brainwaves. Everyone remembers their first year teaching. But it was hard, and I cried a lot, teaching 6 preps, multi-level courses, advising 2 student publications and 3 clubs, in addition to completing my master's. Even with all the gusto I could muster, I got burnt out. And that whisper of, I never wanted to do this anyways, started to cloud my focus. And I tried something I hadn't before. I quit in the middle of my 3rd year, vowing to never, ever, ever return to the classroom again. And I started to tumble down a confusing path with no clear direction. I moved to the beach, worked as a massage therapist, and freelanced for a magazine. And I learned just how hard life is without health insurance and paid time off. And I struggled to find meaning in what I was doing. I got so lost, I ended up back in my childhood bedroom. Sometimes You have to lose your path to find your journey. But what do you do when you don't know what to do? Whatever is right in front of you. I was asked by a local principal I knew to step back into a high school classroom again as a long-term substitute. The students had run out the previous teacher, so I needed to be resilient. I did so well, I was hired as a temporary teacher for the remainder of the year, and capitalizing on my shown strength for the challenging, administration shuffled the schedule to make my last period an all-male freshman class of very rowdy boys who couldn't be successful anywhere else. And I loved them. Don't get me wrong, they were wily. They loved a reaction. But I had experience with rowdy, so drawing from that, instead of letting their bad behaviors get them out of class or avoid my expectation, I harnessed their extra energy for what I wanted them to do. And at the end of the year, I was asked to run an emotional disabilities program at another high school, and the year after, budget shifts moved me to the alternative education program. And I found my niche, special education with at-risk, struggling learners. Everything I had done prior had filled my toolbox for exactly what I was facing. I'll always remember when I was threatened to be stabbed at pencil point over a phonics lesson. To be fair, I was pretty sure this sixth grader wasn't actually going to stab me, so I maintained my composure and power and said, "You're not going to stab me. Now get over here and sit down and finish reading the sentence with me. When you're done, you can pick up all the pencils you threw. Come on, bud, I know you can do this. Let's do this together." And against every fiber of fear of failure in his body, he sat down and read the 7-word sentence. "Hooray! You did it! I'm so proud of you. That was hard, and you overcame your frustration. Good job, buddy." And with a hidden smile of satisfaction, he picked up the pencils strewn around the room. I had that same feeling that brought me into the classroom in the first place. Impact. And now that impact reaches behind 18-foot fences lined in razor wire. Remember that iconic scene from Jurassic Park with the massive gates that slowly open and close you in with an ominous clang? Going into prison is much like that. Except I'm not facing raptors or Tyrannosaurus Rex. I'm working with rapists and pedophiles, gangbangers, and some decent men who did really dumb things. In my classes, I teach literacy, which is the equivalent to kindergarten to second grade, with my students' ages ranging from 18 to 70 in their first step towards getting their high school diploma. During my decade in alternative ed, I learned a lot of strategies to trick my students into learning and building engagement. In prison, I now have a captive audience. Those same strategies create a learning environment where the roughest, toughest, scariest men on the street can experience academic vulnerability. And it takes a lot of vulnerability to be a grown gangster and put your hand under your chin to learn the difference in short vowel sounds, eh and I. You see, if I'd stayed focused on where I would end up or what I would never do, I would have missed what all my adventures had prepared me for, my purpose. Surf Club got me my first job. Managing rowdy boys opened the door to alternative ed. Teaching 4-year-olds how to not be afraid of the water prepared me to lead incarcerated individuals into the deep end of vulnerability and how to build the trust that I won't let them drown. By doing what was in front of me with gusto, I had the skills and experience I needed to take each next step. And each step became the journey to my dream job and passion. And I now live the adage, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Don't think about where you'll end up or what you swear you'll never do, especially if you're in the middle of lost. Look right in front of you and do that with gusto. Then there's no limit to where your path will take you. Thank you, and God bless.